Hi everybody, this is the June 2021 Paper Pumpkin Expressions in Color, and I love it. Don't you love the colors? And I love the stamp that makes this inky look. There are 3 cards that you can make with this kit. I made them all exactly the way they did, except I did use purple on here. Somehow I just couldn't do the bumblebee, but that looks the same. I added a little purple ink with that stampin' spot with that stamp, and I decorated the envelope to go with it, which is kind of cool. The next one is the smaller card. There are 3 of these that say thanks for everything, and I stamped on the inside, did the envelopes the same way. And the last card was actually a congratulations card, but I made it a sending hugs card. And I added some more ink from that inky stamp on the inside, and then I did the outside of the envelope exactly the same. I'm not going to go over how to do those because there are clear instructions in this month's kit. So have fun with those. I started to video this whole presentation earlier and got 5 minutes into it and it stopped. So I'm going to take it from where I left off. So this is the first alternative card. You'll see the there's some ink blots behind it, and I have done one of the dies for you and included it in your mailer. And on the inside I did some of the ink spots and I stamped some flowers. So how I did that is I just used the ink spot stamp, this stamp, and I did it in the bumblebee first, and I did that stamping off technique where I stamped once with full strength and then to the side of it, second generation, and I did it with the bumblebee first. I did the inside, or I did the outside piece, and then I stamped the inside piece with the bumblebee first. Then I went directly to the evening evergreen color, and I didn't even clean off my stamp because it's so much darker, and I just stamped again where I wanted it. I stamped it full strength and then half strength, and did the same on the inside piece. Then I took the small flower, wherever that small flower is, and I used it full strength in the evening evergreen and stamped it 3 times for the inside. So that gets us to where my first video failed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is then I am going to add that little cutout piece that I gave you, and the way I did it is I took my silicone mat and I put some glue in the corner. I used one of the sponges, I dabbed it, and then I dabbed it on the back side of the die and then laid the die right on here so it lays nice and flat. So, or you can, you know, tediously go through and put little dots, but that was a real quick way to do it. Then you're going to glue this flat onto your card base. So let me get that done. And lay it on your card base. You know, I like the Tombow glue because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room for it. So I'm going to lay that on there. I'm going to take one of the evening evergreen edged sentiment pieces, and I am going to stamp thanks on it. And I'm going to use the bumblebee, so I'll do that real quickly. And I don't know why I'm doing this upside down because you can't see me doing it anyway now, but I had to go from my computer to my iPad to get this done quickly for you before I pack to leave tomorrow. So it's about 9 o'clock on Monday night, and I just couldn't not do this for you because it's so much fun. Anyway, bumped it up on dimensionals, so there you go. And all I did then was to glue the piece inside, and just using some glue, gluing it right in. And there's your first alternative card. Looks like that. Okay. All right. Your second alternative card is, it looks like this, and yours looks something like this. I had some of this Expressions in Ink designer series paper, and I cut it at 5 1/4 by 4, and I've given you a piece. It's beautiful on both sides, so you can really choose. This is the side I'm using. This side is the other side, so you may want to just use this side with the gold and everything. It's really pretty, but you all have a little bit uniquely different piece. And I simply stamped right here with the evening evergreen, so I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to use that big flower that came in the stamp set. Let's see, and I'm just going to randomly put it on here, and I'm going to stamp off onto my paper on my surface so I don't get anything, messed up. And so this is the way this one turned out. And so that's it for the stamping on there. The only other thing you're going to do is you're going to stamp the tag with the thanks from the stamp set. This stamp set is really a great stamp set. And so I'm going to just line it up again and stamp it the best I can, like that. For the inside of the card, I did a little bit of stamping, and I actually used a little bit of Granny Apple Green and Just Jade as well. So I'm going to start out with the evening evergreen, and I'm just going to do one splotch in the middle like that to start. And you can see I didn't even fill it in all the way, and that's okay because it's going to get covered up. So don't worry if your splotch isn't all filled in. Okay, and then I'm going to use the Granny Apple Green, and again, if you don't have these colors, don't use them. You don't have to at all. It's just I have them, so why not? And so I did it on either side, and I added a little bit of a second generation down at the bottom. And the last color I'm going to add is the Just Jade. And the reason why I'm using these three colors is they mimic the colors that are on the outside of the inked piece. So so that's the way that one turned out. It's a little bit different than this one, but they both look fabulous. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off my stamp because I've used it on every single card tonight that I've made. And you'll notice that there's some white lines in my paper that are not on this one. I took the white gel pen that we have purchased in the past, and the jelly roll, and I just made some lines in it. I don't think I'll do it for the second one, just to save a little bit of time. It's glued flat onto the front of the card, so I'm just going to fold my card base and then glue my piece. I just kind of hate to put glue on this pretty part, but that's okay. I like the outside part too, or the other side. And I'm going to glue that on. And I'm going to take a little bit of ribbon, and I think I included ribbon in your kit. I made them so quickly tonight. I hope I did. And I'm going to just use some regular Scotch tape. Take a little piece of regular Scotch tape, and I'm going to fashion my my ribbon the way I want it, and I am going put it the way I want it, yes, and then I'm going to just put the tape right over it like that, so it looks like that. Nobody knows. And then we're going to bump the whole thing up on dimensionals, so I'm going to put one dimensional in the middle and one on either end. So you have, it looks like this as you get ready to put it on. And I am simply going to pick a spot where I think it will look nice on my card and stick it down. So that's what the front looks like. It's very easy. And I also added some of the sequins. I'm not going to do that right now because I still need to pack. So I'm going to put the glue on the back side of the inside piece. I'm going to lay it down so it looks like that. And your card is done. Great. Okay, so that's your second alternative. Your third alternative card looks like this. So for this card, you are going to need a card base, and you're going to use the 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece for the inside, which has bumblebee on it and some of the evergreen flowers. And then for the front, you're actually going to do a 3 3/4 by 5 inch piece, and you're going to stamp all over it. So you're going to take your bumblebee again, and this time you're just going to randomly stamp all over it. So stamp it full on, stamp it, you know, half off. I love this stamp. The more you stamp it, the prettier it becomes. You can leave a lot of space open like this, or you can fill it all in. I filled it in more on this one, but let's see what this one looks like with some of the more open space, which is great. Okay, so you're going to clean this guy again, and this time you're going to use your evening evergreen and start with some of the large flowers and randomly placing them on your piece, and make sure that you stamp some of them off of the edges because that's what adds the interest. And do them in different directions. There you go. So you have something like this, okay? And then you're going to use, so you used your larger image first, now you're going to use your smaller image, and you are going to do some of the smaller flowers. And so you're really creating your own DSP to start out with. So I've added some of the smaller flowers. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to cut this, and you're going to cut it 1 inch on either side. So let me just step away and do that real quickly. So I'm going to cut 1 inch off this side, 1 inch off of this side, and I'm going to use all 3 pieces. So first the left, and then the right. So you end up with a 1 inch piece on either side and a thicker piece in the center. So let me just see how I had this put back together. That wasn't like that. Okay. This was like this. Okay. So now we have the 1 inch here and the 1 inch here, the thicker piece here, and we're matching them all up. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay them on the card and glue them with a little bit of a strip of green showing behind it. So it's going to be a vertical card. You're going to make sure that your fold is on the left hand side, and you're going to glue away. So I used actually the middle one, the middle piece first, the middle panel, and I matched it up towards the top. So actually there's a little bit more of a space down at the bottom, and that's going to be covered up, so it's up, it's fine. So there's about a 1/4 inch at the top, and you just eyeball it for either side, and then you're going to add your other pieces just right next to it. So you add that one, and then you're going to put some glue on this one and do the same thing. And create that little space in between. Okay, so now you've got the space in between, and then you have a piece of 1 inch, 4 inches by 1 inch bumblebee, and you're going to do our rip technique, you know, the way we like to rip it, and we're going to glue it right at the bottom, a little bit below your strip, so you now have a 1/4 inch showing here, and it matches that 1/4 inch there. So let me go ahead and put a little bit of glue right on that. And there you go. Then you have a strip, a 1/2 inch strip of paper. You need to cut it into 2.5 inch strips, and you're going to stamp thanks on it and then bump them up with dimensionals. So again, using the evening evergreen and that thanks, you're going to stamp them in the middle, and if you want them to be bigger you can, but I found that the 1/2 inch by 2.5 gave it a pretty nice border all the way around. Okay, so I've got those done. Now I am going to close this up so I don't get ink everywhere. That evening evergreen, it's one of those darker colors, and I swear the darker colors, they just jump off of the pads and get on everything. So now you're going to take your dimensionals and pop up all 3 of these sentiments. I used 3 dimensionals on the back of each of the 2.5-inch long pieces. And then I started with the one at the top here, and I started on the left hand side, so closest to the fold. So I will do that and just eyeball it, lay it down. Second one, I'm going to do the same thing and just move it to the right a little bit. So now it's more towards the middle. So it's like that. And then the last one, I'm going to move it even farther to the right and just eyeball them. I think the middle one I had a little bit crooked. Let's see if I can make it a little bit straighter. Okay, so that's the easy part. And then for the inside, I just used the bumblebee and stamped it. So real quickly, used that splotch stamp again, and I used the splotch stamp on every card and on every envelope, and I'm not tired of it yet. So okay, so I'm just doing a random splotch and cleaning off my stamp, then using the dark green again to do the small flowers like I had stamped on the front piece. And I think I just stamped like 3 of them. I think I did 3. Where's my card? Oh, I did 5. I went crazy. So I'll add a couple more. Maybe I'll overlap them a little bit. Okay, so now it looks like that. Okay. And just glued it on the inside of the card. There is card number 3. Next card is a thank you card, and it looks like this. See, I splotched again on the inside, and this time I'm using the bumblebee, and I'm actually using the soft succulent, but the evening evergreen would look just as effective. I just have the soft succulent as my card base this time, and that's what you have in your kit as well. So soft succulent, and the front and the back are inside are the same, so they are 5 1/4 by 4. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do some splotch in the middle, and then we're going to use the green with the big flowers and the smaller flowers. So here we go. There's the splotch, and I'm just going to kind of think of this as a pattern going across the middle of my card like that. So no more than that. That's all I'm going to do. And on the inside, I just did it at towards the bottom so I could write on it. So on this one, I'm going to do the same thing, just going across, but I'm going to do it towards the bottom and not make sure, you know, it doesn't need to be perfectly go all the way across, or it could, depending on what you want, how random you want it to look. And the soft succulent this time. I added some sequins to this card when I was done. Let's see, I did one big flower on the inside like that, and for the outside I did a larger flower to the upper left and a larger flower rotating it towards the bottom right. Then I used the next size, which is the little individual floral stamp, and I added a couple of those to my pattern, so kind of like that. And then I added the there's a little sprig, and I put the sprig on either side of the flowers. And actually, I'm going to just do it on one side. So it's like that. Okay. And I did the same thing on the inside of the card. I added just a couple of the smaller flowers on either side of the big flower. So it was like that. And then this is where I put two sprigs, one on each side of the flowers. So it's like that. And then we're ready to put it together. I took a little piece of the soft succulent ribbon, and I made sure it was just a little bit longer than the 5 1/4. So it's probably like 5 3/4 inch length, and I'm going to just lay it across the bottom of the card, and I'm going to put it in place with my trusty Scotch tape again. So nothing fancy, using my Scotch tape. I'm just going to put my lay my ribbon across where I want it, and then I am just attaching it with the Scotch tape on the back. So pretty easy, and I'm just eyeballing it, kind of looking from left to right to make sure that the ribbon pretty much matches up with itself, that one is not real high and one real low. So then that gives me a pretty good look on the front. Then I'm going to glue that whole thing flat onto my card base. And glue it flat onto my card base. I'm going to glue my inside piece on the inside of the card. So it looks like that. And then I had a one of the green trimmed sentiment pieces, and I stamped the thanks and the bumblebee. And just lined it up with my eye the best I can. Okay, bumped this up on dimensionals, but I'm going to show you something. I'm going to put this on directly on the ribbon, and I don't want it to, oh darn it, I put it above the, there you go. Okay, so it looks like this, and it's ready to put on, but I'm going to put it right directly on the ribbon, and I want the ribbon to make sure it stays down and doesn't wiggle around. So I'm going to put a little bead of glue right under the ribbon in the middle, because I'm going to cover that up with the dimensionals, and then the dimensionals will stick on it and it won't lift up. So there you have it, like that. Okay, and I did add the sequins to that one as well. So there you have that card. And then the last card I want to show you, I hope you kept the little pieces of the advertising brochure that I shared with you from last month's kit that was advertising that this was coming. And this is the card that we're going to make. So this is a strip right from that advertisement piece. We're going to do our own alcohol based here, but if you want to use the stamp, you can. And I use the stamp on the inside. So this is how this one go. The envelope too looks like that. So you're going to have a plain white card base. And I'm really hoping I can hold this in place so you can see what I'm doing. Hold on just a second here. Let me see if I can. How can I do this so you can see the technique? Darn it. Okay, that won't work. So let me see what I can do. Okay, you're going to have a little piece of acetate that I'm giving you. It's called Window Sheet from Stampin' Up. And save this because you're going to use it over and over. Some of you have the Stampin' Blends markers, and that's what this technique is for. If you don't have the Stampin' Blends markers, then just go ahead and use the stamp and make the random with whatever colors you want. But for this one, I'm going to use Gorgeous Grape, Polished Pink, and Fresh Freesia. So again, this is an alcohol technique, and this is a little strip from last month's flyer. Let's see, I don't know, that's too close. Okay, so if you want to play, you need some 90% alcohol or higher. This is 91%, and I got it at CVS. And I am going to just randomly, you can hear me just squiggling some lines on my acetate. And you can use your acetate over and over again. You can use colors on top of colors. You can use colors individually. But so I've got a couple different colors on there. I am going to use a pipette and gather some of my, just suck up some of my rubbing alcohol. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop some drops of alcohol, and you'll see that it starts making some different patterns. on your acetate, then you're going to take the front of your card and you're going to lay it right on that alcohol. So you're laying it right on the alcohol like that and smushing it down, and then you're going to lift it up and you'll have a design like that. Then you can go ahead and add more color, and this time I'm going to use the Raspberry Bliss, I think it's called, dark, and I use all dark colors when I'm doing this. And again, I'm going to randomly put some dots on it. Doesn't matter if you have a bigger piece of acetate or smaller piece. You can use this technique over and over again using the same piece, and then you're going to lay your card again flat down onto your acetate, and then you're going to lift up, and you're going to repeat that as often as you want until you get the desired pattern that you want. I just go ahead and look for where there's color left on my acetate sheet, and I just plot it wherever I want. And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to use just all the polished pink this time. And just make some more little dots with my piece. And if you don't have a little pipette, you could use a little brush. I'll do that too. So again, you're just smushing it down and then you're just lifting it up. So you're just doing layer on layer on layer. And let's see, let me use a, I'll use a brush this time, and all I'm doing is I'm going over and I'm just daubing it up and down like this, flat onto my acetate that has some of the Stampin' Blend still on it, and I'm going to just keep picking it up, and so you just see it just keeps creating more of an interest, and then when I get to be the end, I just kind of smear my alcohol all over my acetate and just smear my piece across it. And I want to get all the color that is left on the acetate sheet. And alcohol dries really quickly, so you can use it, and then it dries just almost as quickly as you put it on. Then I just take a little bit of the alcohol and run it across my window sheet, my acetate sheet. Clean my brush, put them away, and I'm ready to roll. Okay, so you can play with that acetate sheet, or again, like I said, if you're not, you don't want to mess with that, then you can use some of your different colors and ink up your splotch and just kind of use them. So I've added some of the splotches on there, and I'll go ahead and splotch on the inside too for my inside interest. Now, when you do use the alcohol, you will have it go all the way through, which is fine because that's going to be the inside of your card, and it's not where you're writing anyway. Then to finish off the card, I took a piece of, what is this called? Polished pink and ribbon. And I've given you some ribbon. Cut it. And wrapped it around the front of the card towards the bottom. And my alcohol is just about dry at this point. So I am going to just tie a knot and then make a quick bow. And if you don't have any of the pinks and purples, you can certainly use the greens or blues, or you can use the yellows. Anything that you have from your old paper pumpkin kits, pull them out and experiment. And of course, I cut this piece pretty darn small. So I don't know if it's gonna, I might end up with a knot. Nope, that'll work. Okay, so then what I did is I took that strip from the flyer and I just glued it across the top like that. So just a quick little glue across the top and a trim on either side. Okay, and I use my scissors. Where did I put my scissors? I guess I put them back and trimmed them. And then actually, I stamped the "You Are Amazing" throughout with the, I think it was the Blackberry Bliss that I used. And where did I put that? Maybe it wasn't. It must have been Gorgeous Grape because Blackberry Bliss isn't out here. And so this one I did "You Are Amazing." And this one I'm going to do "Sending Hugs" because I should have really stamped it before I put the ribbon on it. So I'm going to just randomly put "Sending Hugs" all over here, and I'm going to actually not try to do them straight. I wasn't really careful with this, so I'm going to fix one of my S's with a regular marker that matches. Nobody will know. Okay, so that's the "Sending Hugs." This one is the "You Are Amazing." So, fun card using the alcohol technique. There you go.